Chapter 2 The Plateau of the Blast. 80 days have passed, but the story is not over yet. This is the second time, sir. Bilbo Baggins appeared in The Hobbit and was remembered throughout the county throughout the year. This is the story of a young hobbit. Eventually, Matt Baggins disappeared from the film, reappearing with jewellery and a bag of gold, and became a popular legend as the original events were forgotten. However, Bilbo, the smartest man in the company, is believed to have eventually lost his mind and fled to the Green World. In fact, he suffered a tragic fall into a pond or river there, but was never found, mainly because of Gandalf. There are rumours that something strange is going on. The outside world could not find Gandalf at the time and sent messages for years. Frodo then collected all the messages. When the dwarves appeared on the west side of the Night Tree, they disappeared and never returned, but they left it aside and paid no attention to their problems. However, the court has a different opinion on this issue. An old east-west road crosses the property on the edge of Green Haven. Amphibians are often used to exploit the Blue Mountains. Hobbyists receive essential information from afar, and when they want an explanation, they usually talk calmly. I've only heard of the Hobbit yet. As Frodo explores distant lands, he often encounters strange creatures. Some say that the resources available in the western part of the country are not sufficient for enemies and rumours of Mordor land. Hobbits only know this name through obscure legends. The past is in his heart, but it's scary and amazing. It seems that the demonic army in the Dark Forest was destroyed by the White Clan and was taken over by the ancient army of Mordor. The soldiers then spread to the east and south. The war on terror has also increased. Orcs are reincarnated as a stone tribe and are not monsters but intelligent and dangerous. Ganji sat on one side of the fire and on the other sat Ted Sandeman, Taylor's son. Hearing your story is a shared experience. What you heard today is incredible, he said it himself. Of course, Ted said, good things, but if you want, you can listen to a heated conversation at home. It could be, Sam protested. I'm sure it's more real than you think. Who did it? Now destroy the dragon. Of course, Teddy said, it won't happen. I've heard since childhood, but now I can't believe it. A dragon lives in this lake. It's green, laughed the children. What do you say? Sam smiled and left with the others. What about plants called demons? He said he saw something bigger than a tree in the North Sea that day. After a long time, Gandalf appeared. But that evening, when Sam came home in the middle of the night, he heard a familiar voice from his bedroom window. Frodo is surprised and delighted to see his old friend. Everyone looks at each other thoughtfully. Do you agree? Said Gandalf. As usual, Frodo. Frodo replied, You. But he found Gandalf old and useless. He asked the world, but only answered at midnight. Now Gandalf sat alone, smoking and thinking. Even at dawn he heard Gandalf walking. Finally, it's all over. Gandalf, last night you started saying strange things to my ring. She said, You're right, so I'll just leave it alone. Do you want me to stop now? You said bicycles are more dangerous than me, right? In many ways, the professor said. It's more powerful than you think. Whoever finds it wins. Eric had 11 rings of different sizes. They were called rings, some strong and some weak. Frodo has a pill that doesn't die. He's reborn. When he wears it every second until the end. He loses his virginity and dies in a dark room. I am worried about you and the other members of the team after we go to Bilbao, when the Dark Army attacks Shire, Ent and the other ducks. It's a massive attack on the world. Beat the eggs." Frodo shuddered. "From where? Why do you want these slaves?" "Yes, of course," replied Gandalf. "Remember, so far they have no idea that hate exists. We should be grateful, but his faith is lost. He doesn't need you, he has a quality boss, but he won't forget you. As an unhappy servant, the Hobbit differs from comedy." "But you don't know what happened. I didn't know he was here, but I got a chance to talk." Frodo took it out of his bag. A chain hangs from his belt. He opened it and handed it to the nurse. Then there was an argument between Frodo and Gandalf, who didn't want to touch him. Gandalf thought so. "It looks like it's made of real gold. Are there any symptoms?" he asked me. "No, nothing," Frody said quietly, not revealing how to use it. "Here." The witch continued to tremble and threw herself into the fire. The man screamed and grabbed the whip, but Gandalf stopped. "There are things," he said with authority, looking at Frodo. "Not much has changed in this town." After a while, Gandalf got up and closed the curtains outside the window. The room was dark and quiet, but through the window I could hear Sam bawling out into the garden. The witch looked at the fire for a while. He bent down, put the ring and money into the oven, and quickly took them out. Frodo was surprised. "Well," said Gandalf, "he will be stronger and tougher than ever." As he did so, Frodo saw a line coming up out of the circle. "It's better than smooth ink, and I can see the wire floating verbally. Although it emits a bright light, it is deep inside." "I cannot read," said Frodo in a trembling voice. "But you can," said Gandalf. "The script is Old Elf, but the language is morbid, so I can't write it. But the dictionary says, 'Monument to the three kings of the world. The apartment has 7 little beds. 9 people were sentenced to death. 1 black king sits on a black throne. Lies in the shadow of Mordorin. Look at the line, the whole cup, the whole, everything. A circle that keeps everything in the dark. Lies in the shadow of Mordorin.'" Frodo is cool and calm. "As fear came from the east, the arm of his power spread around you like a dark cloud. It's a seal. Complaint, how are you? How can I get it?" "Uncle," said Gandalf, "it's a very long story. It dates back to the Dark Ages, and today only scientists remember it. But last night I told you about the great Sharon. Darkness, the words I heard were true. Abandoned his home in the Darkwood, he returned to the fort. Old in the Dark Tower of Mordor. Even your parents have heard the word black. With each fall and breath, the image renews itself and grows again." "Maybe it's my turn," Freddy said. "Aye," said Gandalf, "and we found everything that day. He will save the entire world in another shadow. He is not banded." He added, 9. There were 7 people, otherwise they died. 3 people are still on the run. But other than that, there is no problem. He only has a circle that he made himself. Most of them have left home. The rest are qualified and qualified. Then he ordered everyone. The 3 must explain everything that happened to them. "It's scary, Freud. He thought someone was missing. Alice is crazy like him, but he realized that he was no longer lost but found. Therefore, he read, studied, and all his thoughts were on it. This is his greatest hop and our greatest fear. But now we need to know better how it happens to us. Long story. I think the elves and Elendil died alone, but they destroyed Sharon. His spirit died for years. Even the shadow fell on murky trees again. But the clock is ticking. On one of their journeys north, they docked on the east coast of Isildur and disappeared. Nearby Gladden Park is full of rock dust, and almost all died. He goes into the water, but when I took a bath, my finger disappeared. Or saw and kill him with the arrows. Among the river are famous families. According to ancient records, the oldest member of the family was named Smeagol. He is interested in roots and history. They grow from plants that jump into a deep lake or fall from a tree. I no longer see mountains and leaves. The trees and flowers are open to the wind. The head and eyes look down. He has a friend named Diggle, who has the same eye but is not strong or strong. One day, when they were on the boat plucking tail and grey flowers, Smeg arrived. They reached the riverbank, but Diggle sat down and flung with his rod and soon caught a big fish. And before he knew where he dropped it and then picked it up, there was something shiny. Up. He stuffed handfuls of grass and dirt into his hair. They were swimming at the beach. And look, it is better to wash the mud and solid gold ring. His heart was full of joy all day long. But Smeagol saw him behind a tree, and Smeagol followed him slowly as Diggle frolicked around the ring. "Give us a sticker, my love," Smell said over his friend's shoulder. "But why?" said the sticker. "It's my son's birthday. I love it," Smackle said. "I don't care," Deckle said. "I have given you a gift that cannot be taken away. I found it and kept it." "Oh, you, my love," said Smeagol. Because the gold was so shiny and beautiful, it strangled Diggle by the throat. A ring was then put on her finger. No one knows what happened to Diggle. They killed him and hid his body near the house. But Smeagol returned alone. After putting on the ring, he noticed that no one was looking at him. They pounced on him and bit him. He began to whisper in his throat while crying. At that time it was called Gollimo. He cursed her and asked her to leave, and her grandmother took her from a peaceful household to her dog. Only with the injustice of the world did he kick the river until he found a fish in the depth of the water that he could not see from the mountains with his toes. He ate her eyes. "Yes," said Frodo, "but apart from hobbies, people ask riddles, and they are all the same questions. Hobbs doesn't cheat. Gollum always wanted it to be fake. He wanted to give up on poor Bilbo. His villain wants to play easy on the hunt, but I can see that he doesn't care about losing. The ship can defend itself, Frodo. You can betray, but its defenders will not regret it. It wasn't Gollum or Frodo, but the ring that decided something. That hurts. Pain." "What happened at the meeting with Bilbo?" said Frodo. "I don't like this, best friend." "This is no joke," said Gandalf. "Sir, now the strangest thing about the story of the ring is that Bilbo appears and comes in the dark." "Enough, Frodo. The ring must be given to the owner. He betrayed Isildur by fleeing. In time, the poor devil was caught and killed. Gollum ate him. But I think there is no doubt. Slowly, stop by stop, they travelled many miles south and finally reached Mordor. The room is very quiet. Frodo felt his heart beat faster. Above everything, looks good. Sam stopped stepping on the scissors. Yes, Mordor, answered Gandalf. It hurts. Mordor attracts everyone. Satan and the forces of darkness found a way to gather there. Enemies also get out of the way, so you can summon them at any time. On the other hand, everybody hates the South, everybody hates the West. New friends help revenge. Unfortunately, learn more about this country. They will soon be hiding at the border as they are arrested and interrogated. This is a bad thing. When they found him, he hadn't been seen for a long time, but he wanted to come back. But it is dangerous. But not today. The worst has happened. You know what? And finally, I think you've heard of mud and Shire. The government, if they can't find you anywhere else, they will find you. Yes, Frodo, I'm afraid, even Baggins. This is terrible, Frodo shouted. What am I afraid to do now? Why feel sorry for Bilbo? If so, then there is joy, fear, nature. Thank you. He was arrested for a serious crime, kindness. Don't always knock and you will be rewarded. Make sure you hit the bad guy enough and eventually you get the first ring. Yeah. At least now he feels bad, he is. He deserves to die. It's good, I can say yes. It will work for many people. Death and some dead people have life. Can you give them? Therefore, the court should not be inclined to accept the death sentence, because even the smartest people don't see all the meaning. It is not expected that Grom will be saved before he dies, but it is still possible. This ring is about luck, and when this happens, Bilbo's stomach can control not only his own fate, but the fate of many. But there are many of them, Gandalf. You are smart and strong. You will receive a ring. Anyway, Canthal stood up. I must have great power and the fear of that power. The power of purity is still in me. Do not tempt me. I will blackmail you. Love and kindness towards the weak is the core of my heart. Don't talk to me. I will never take action against violence. I really want to touch you. Yes, sometimes I think about leaving, but I think it will be a quiet trip, like the trip to Bilbao, and even better, a peaceful end. So I decided and had to go alone to save Shire. But I felt small, average, and empty. The enemy is long and dangerous. Hello, Frodo. I've said it before. Entertainment is a beast. But Bilbo was right in choosing his successor, even if he hated him. The music is not reserved for you or other users of the site. This name cannot be used outside the country or in the desert. Now I will tell you the name of the trip. It will be like Underhill. Suddenly he stopped like a cloud. Gandalf was standing on the other side of the window. Then he ran to the door and raised his hand. Said Sam Gamgee, one ear sticking out of his head. Yes, bless the beard, said Gandalf. 3-3, what can you do now? Welcome, Lord Gandalf, sir, he said to himself. This is not true. After I left, I cut the grass under the window. A knife was produced and turned into evidence. I beg to differ, Gandalf said angrily. I heard the sound of scissors for a long time. How old are you when you hear this? Do you hear? Please, I will not follow you. Sorry, there is no lining under the bag. Is that so? Don't be stupid. Why did you hear and why? Gandalf rolled his eyes. Ben Frodo, sir, Sam cried and cried. Let me scare you. Don't let something strange happen. My grandfather bought it. I know he doesn't hurt me. Sir, Sam said softly, I swear I don't know the enemy or the ring or Master Bilbo or the dragon or the mountain or anything, sir. You know what I mean. I said, I love stories like that and I believe everything Ted says. How are you when you go? I want to see you. Will you marry me? Suddenly Gandalf began to laugh. Change! He screamed and opened his arms, and Sam panicked, took scissors and grass from the window and put them on the floor. You took him to the goblins, didn't you? He asked and looked around. Sam walked in, his face full of joy. So do you hear Uncle Frodo coming? I have to draw you, but, and he looks at Sam, if he really cared, he'd let me sweep. Whether you know it or not, say the word here, and Gandalf will turn you into a frog and destroy a garden full of snakes. Sam shook his head and knelt down. Wake up, Sam. I have a good idea. Other than a verbal response, let's go with Frodo. That's my brother. Sam is as angry as a walking dog. I saw all the elves too. Listen. She continued to cry. End of chapter 2.